Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee, and this is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, tucked into the southwest corner of beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. Our mission here is all about connection, connecting kids with books, families with each other, and communities through the power of story. Every week we're joined by incredible authors and creators whose work lights up kids' lives. You can support our mission by spreading the word. Share the show with your friends, give us a shout out at school, and let folks know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, YouTube. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We have an absolutely delightful show for you today. First up, Isabel and Eliza Woloson. They're here to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Eliza's beautiful picture book called My Friend Isabelle. And later in the show, Heather Stigall is returning to celebrate her new picture book, Gilbert and the Ghost. Hey, my friends, you know one of my favorite parts of the day is story time. There's just something magical about snuggling up with your kids, opening a great book, and escaping into an adventure together. And let me tell you, that moment becomes even more magical when you're curled up in the softest, coziest bedding you've ever felt. That's why I'm so excited that CozyEarth.com is supporting Reading with Your Kids. Their bamboo sheets, comforters, and pajamas are unbelievably soft, naturally breathable, and temperature regulating, which means no more sweaty nights or chilly toes. Right now, Cozy Earth is offering Reading with Your Kids listeners an unbelievable and exclusive 41% off their entire site. That's right, you heard me right, 41% off. So go ahead, create your own cozy reading nook, wrap yourself and your kids up in something comfy, grab your favorite bedtime book, and turn story time into the best part of your day. Head on over to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code READ at checkout to save 41%. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code READ. Hey, real quick, we want to let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Zivo Life. ZIVO.life. Zivo Life. Hey, parents, caregivers, and book lovers, ever wish you had a little bit more zip in your step when you're reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar for the 5th or the 50th time today? Say hello to Zivo Life, your new best friend in daily wellness. Zivo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant loaded with 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, antioxidants, and so much more. It's a powerhouse in just 1 teaspoon a day, and yes, is giving people more energy, better gut health, and even healthier skin and hair. If you want to feel more energized, focused, and vibrant during your next animated storytime performance, Zivo Life might just be your secret weapon. Visit Zivo.life, ZIVO.life, and use the promo code READ to get 30% off your order. It comes with a 30-day risk-free guarantee, and you've got nothing to lose except your sluggishness. Go now to Zivo.life and use the promo code READ and save 30%. I am so excited. We are going to have a great time. I've had such a nice time meeting our two guests. They're here to celebrate the 20th anniversary of their book. It's called My Friend Isabelle. Please welcome to the show, Eliza and Isabel Woloson. My friends, how are you?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for having us, Jed. It's so nice to be here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That first voice you heard was Isabel's older sister, Eliza.
Older mother. Mother.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. So Eliza is Isabel's mom. And the second voice you heard was Isabel. Isabel, this book is all about you, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, the book is really about the importance of inclusion in friendship.
I love that. I love that. Do you know that I had a job right before, it's such an important job, the most important job I ever had, well, except being a parent. But so I just celebrated my 35th anniversary yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I met my beautiful wife because there was a school for kids with severe developmental disabilities in Boston, and they were in a hospital, and the idea of inclusion was just starting to take shape. And so this school, again, that was in a hospital, they were kind of charged and they were encouraged to do some inclusion. And I think the reason they hired me, because I had no experience, was because they thought the idea was crazy and that these kids had to be in a hospital. So they said, well, let's hire a clown and he'll fail and they'll stop talking about this inclusion nonsense. But Isabel, the program was a huge success because all the kids, we integrated kids, the kids in my school into a nearby local public school. And the kids all loved each other, and that was how I met my beautiful wife. And the then 9-year-old girl who had something called Rett syndrome was the reason I met my wife. And a year later, that little girl was our flower girl at our wedding.
Oh my goodness! Oh, I love that story.
Yeah. So the story, as I understand it, Isabel, the story is. About a friend of yours?
Yes.
Yeah? Tell me about the friend, please.
Yeah, his name is Charlie. He lives in Boulder.
Okay. And both of you live in Boulder right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Eliza, you were the author of the book. Isabel was the star, so we have to give her credit. But you were the author of the book. I'm guessing you kind of saw this friendship between Isabel and Charlie and wanted to let the world know about it.
I did. And, I'm from the generation of a don't stare generation. And when I gave birth to Isabel, I knew that, I wanted to do things differently. And, she's so approachable and friendly and had so many friends when she was younger and even today. And really, there was very, if any books at the time, 20 years ago, that started those conversations with between parents and kids and teachers and kids, those early conversations about differences. Mm-hmm. And how can we begin, what do the first conversations look like when we talk to our kids about differences? And really it's just as simple as, big and little and short and tall and all of those concepts right at the very beginning. And so that's really what we wanted to have the book be about, was really to begin those conversations, those first conversations with children.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. It is. I'm glad that, I grew up in the same generation as you. And I'll be honest with you, the school that hired me, I had been working as a lifeguard. And, the first day this school came down to use our pool, I kind of freaked out because I hadn't met kids with such a, severe, challenges. And it bothered me that I was scared by these kids. And so I decided that I would get to know them. And I did. And I'm so glad I did, because I made so many amazing friendships with those students. Those kids really did become my friend. And I was really happy because I wasn't a teacher. I wasn't a therapist. So I didn't have all those rules that, you can't become friends with these kids. You can't become friends with their parents. You has to stay professional. And so I stayed friends with those kids for an awfully long time.
That's beautiful. That's true. That's all it takes is just, those, a connection between two people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Isabel, are you still friends with Charlie?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. What kind of stuff do you and Charlie do together?
We like going to concerts. He does marimba.
He does marimba. Awesome. So he's loving to play Latin music?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And what kind of Latin music is your favorite?
Just like the cha-cha and little things like that.
Okay.
Marimba is more like an African.
Yeah, more
Okay. Okay. I guess my beautiful wife is from Puerto Rico, so they have a lot of those Afro Latin beats that and instruments. So that's where I made that connection. Isabel, as somebody with Down syndrome, when somebody comes up to you or a kid comes up to you and they have a question, what's the best? Should a kid ask you directly a question about you, or should they ask their mother, or should they just not say anything and ignore you and walk away?
It's okay to be able to approach that question. Definitely, it's just don't stare at me that much. No, it does in fact creep me out, but
It does creep you out.
but it's okay because as a little kid, it's cool to talk to people like me and people with disabilities, and it's great for them to be curious about it. And it's really, really great because it's like they can say, "Oh, what is it like to live with a disability? Is it ever hard or challenging?" They think it, but they just don't really say it.
Well, boy, I'm not a very good podcaster. Isabel, what's it like living with a disability, and is it ever hard? That question that you just asked, that was a beautiful question. Can you answer it?
Yeah, it's sometimes challenging,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, it's being able to live with it and not be defined by it.
I love that. And you are living with it. I understand that you have your own apartment.
Yes, I do.
Awesome. What's that? I remember the days that I had my own apartment. It's so cool. People say, "Oh, you get a bachelor apartment." I'm like going, "Well, not really. No one comes over." But tell me about your spot, please.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's downtown, and it's really fun and local. And I have a really great community of friends down there, a huge support team down there as well. And it's really inviting me and inviting lots of other people there that I get to know and still engage with.
That's really super. Those are the same things I wanted when I was your age. Yeah. And I also understand you're working. What do you do for a job, Isabel?
Yeah, I work with coffee.
Uh-huh.
I'm a barista.
No kidding. Are you able to make those fancy little pictures on top of the coffee?
Yes.
How do you do that?
It's a little challenging, but we're still learning.
Okay. What's your favorite design to make on the top of the coffee?
Hearts.
Awesome. That's really great. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but if I was in Boulder and I went to your coffee shop, I'd get one. So do you think you can make a design with my face on the top of the coffee?
Probably.
I like that. One of the things, Eliza, that I noticed with my kids back when I was at that school and I was advocating for the kids and working with the parents of the kids in my school, it wasn't easy getting them to agree. There are some parents who are like, "Yeah, you want to get my kid in the community? Awesome. Here you go. Here's the keys. Take it." But a lot of other parents were very, very hesitant, especially back then in 87, 88. Are parents more open to the idea these days? And what was it that allowed you to be open to the idea 20 years ago to let Isabel go out into this great world and not want to wrap her up in bubble wrap?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a great question. I think that Boulder is similar to many communities across the country. And, Isabel's really been in the forefront of a lot of the disability movement in a lot of ways, in 3 areas. But one of the biggest is the education piece. When Isabel was in high school, she and a couple other kids with disabilities expressed the interest of wanting to go to college. And all the parents looked at each other and we said, why not? We were one of the first, or one of the last states to sign a Senate bill. Do you want to talk about the Senate bill?
Yeah, it was the Senate Bill 196.
Uh-huh.
And it was able for people with disabilities to be able to go to college in the state of Colorado.
Awesome. So you went and graduated?
Yes, I graduated from the University of Northern Colorado.
And what's your degree in?
Communication.
Communications. That's fantastic. What are you hoping to do with that knowledge in the future?
Well, my hope is to be a life coach.
Ah, okay. Very cool. Very cool. I was hoping that you were going to say you wanted to be a podcaster, but you looked at me and you go, I don't want to be that. Well, this is, one of the things that I've been thinking about, and I've talked to guests who come on talking about the books they've written about inclusion and folks with disabilities, is that we've come a long way since the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, but we still got a long way to go. Isabel, what kind of things do you think we as a society, as a community, need to do better when it comes to including people who are different from us?
It's more just understanding and accepting people with disabilities all together. And it's not just because the person has a disability, it's being able to understand, being able to live with it and not to be forced by it.
Yeah. Mom, as in your eyes, what kind of things would you like to see society improve on?
I think that there's a lot of work to be done on how we could better support individuals with disabilities around living independently. I think that there's a lot of models that are being used both in Colorado and across the country. And I think that we can learn from one another what's working, how we can be better on that front. There's a really incredible site called Think College where individuals, parents who, if their kids are interested in going into post-secondary education, they can go online and they can see all the different universities that are available to them. Of course, there's progress to be made there, but there's been a lot of headway being made with universities looking at different models and ways to include people with disabilities. Of course, the job front is definitely ways that we can make progress. The folks who employ Isabel, Isabel didn't have to go through DVR to get the job. And so more businesses that are not looking to go through DVR and just employing straight up people with disabilities, I think that's the direction that we need to go in.
Yeah. I don't know the acronym that you mentioned.
Division of Vocational Rehab.
Okay.
It's usually when adults with a disability are employed, they have to go, or they go through DVR, and DVR helps support them, give them the supports they need in order to thrive in the workplace. But in a lot of cases, like pushing a button on a coffee machine, that's a pretty simple one. I don't think you need a mentor for that. Sure. So there's a lot of jobs out there that I think you don't need to go through the system. You can just apply for the job.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Now, the one thing, Eliza, I'm sorry. When the kids are going to college, I hope they're not incurring that incredible student loan debt. I hope there's a way for them to avoid having to fall into that trap.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they all get kind of lumped together. They're all. I think it's just like par for the course. I think for education, probably.
Yeah. Any thoughts of doing a graduate studies, Isabel?
I actually don't really know quite yet, but I was actually a little bit interested in doing that.
Oh, wonderful! That's exciting. I think the thing that most people, hopefully, most people who are listening to this, who have not had the experience to get to know somebody with a disability, or someone with Down syndrome, or any kind of neurological challenge or intellectual challenge. I hope one of the things that they're thinking right now is, well, Isabel's cool. I'd like to be friends with her. What would you say, Isabel? We talked about what kids, if they have questions, it's okay for them to ask you. But what about an adult, somebody who's in their 20s, 30s, maybe a parent who hasn't known anybody with a disability, is a little scared when they hear that their kid's classroom is going to welcome in a child with a disability, whether it's intellectual or physical, and they're a little bit scared. What would you say to that parent?
Being able to understand that the resources that they already have, that they won't be able to get, may be a little bit hard or challenging, but it's being able to learn that being able to accept oneself. Mm-hmm. And to accept the children that may feel a little bit slower. That does not mean they shouldn't be defined by anything.
Right.
Everyone's different. And that's the world of acceptance.
Amen. Amen. As I know that I am very different than everybody I know. And I kind of like that.
Half human, half clown.
There you go. Well, I don't know if it's half and half. My beautiful wife would probably say 80-20 clown regular, but typical. That's what I have to say. Typical, right? Not regular. I'm really excited. Lisa, what would you say to that same parent? That's saying, "Oh, I don't know. There's this kid, and he makes noises, and
oh, we just lost you. Oh no.
Parent.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We just lost you. I didn't hear the question. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries. It was a terrible
for a moment.
It was a terrible question. No, I was asking you, what would you say to that parent who is nervous about their child being in an inclusive classroom?
Mm-hmm. I would probably first just acknowledge their feelings. Mm-hmm. Because it is scary to walk toward something that's different and that you're not used to, you're not familiar with. That's real. That's a real feeling. I had that when I was younger too, and I wasn't told about the world of differences. Uh-huh. But this is the world in which we're living.
Yeah.
We're not all made of the same fabric, and this is a movement for all, for people with disabilities, for people of color. This book has been used for PhD students talking about all types of non-normatives in the world, so disability, people of color, also gender as well. This is the world that we're living in.
Yeah, absolutely. The book is, like I said earlier, the book is wonderful. It's a perfect book. It's not preachy. There's certainly a message to it, but you won't find the message written in words. It's just, hey, look at Isabel and Charlie, and what a beautiful friendship they have. And you get to the end of the book and you go, oh, maybe my kid could have that kind of friendship.
Mhm. That's the hope. That's the hope.
Yeah. I just have to ask, Isabel, what was it like when you were 6 years old and My Friend Isabel came out and you realized that I'm the star of a book?
Well, it felt really good. It
Uh-huh.
felt really good. And it was such a teaching point as I was younger
Yeah.
to be able to get the resources and to do all those things. And now 20 years has passed. A new generation of people with disabilities can be able to look at this book and to learn past it and to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I love that books can be windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors. And I love that there's a book out there that kids like you, Isabel, can look at themselves and see themselves positively portrayed in the pages of a book. But I think I really love the fact that it gives typical kids a chance to look and get to know somebody like you if there's no one in their class, and to see, I'd love to have a friend like Isabel.
When Isabel was little, I would go into the classrooms and we would do these exercises with some of the kids, young kids, and a whole variety of different ones to teach them to be more understanding of people with differences. From putting their hands in socks and reaching in and grabbing marbles or candies out of a bin, and to get them to understand how challenging it is to sometimes grasp something, or to imagine swimming, being the last one to swim a lap, and then getting there at the end and finding that all the kids had gone off to eat the pizza and they were the last ones to arrive, and then the pizza was gone. It's like, and how you're feeling from that. So getting kids at the very beginning, it's like the book allowed them to talk about difference, and then as they got a little bit older, it then gave them it was the gateway to then be able to talk about deeper like empathy, and that we are really different, and how might it feel to be different than a normative.
Right. Well, like you said, everybody's different in some ways. And so Isabel, I would love to invite you to watch a video that I made way back in 1989. It talked about what we did at that school. The name of the video is Melt Down the Walls That Separate. It's on YouTube. It's really old. So you have to watch it in 5 different parts, because back then YouTube you could only do a 10-minute thing, and but it's on there. You get to see me in my makeup. You get to see me with long golden blonde hair, and you get to hear what the wicked bad Boston accent that I used to have back in 1989.
I love it. I love it. I just wrote it down. I'm definitely going to watch it. We'll watch that.
Awesome. That's great. And we should tell everybody right now where they can go to find out more about My Friend Isabel, and find out more about both of you. And if there are any other websites that you want people to check out, so have at it.
Well, Isabel has a website, askizzy.com. That's her life coaching site, ASKIZZE. And we're going to be doing some signings in Boulder and Denver, as well as in New York City. It's in Central Park. The Jaipur Literary Festival on the 13th of September and the 14th of September at the Tattered Cover Bookstore in Denver. The Jaipur Literary Festival is at the Boulder Bookstore. And then before that, on the 6th of September, we're going to be in Central Park with the National Down Syndrome Society Buddy Walk. And we're going to be doing a reading there in Central Park.
Awesome. Hey, you know what they say about New York, Isabel? If you make it there, you can make it anywhere. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author and inspiration of My Friend Isabel. It is celebrating its 20th anniversary. It's available in paperback right now, and it's also available in hardcover still.
Probably online, but it's primarily in they can find it in paperback now.
Awesome. We've had a great time with Isabel and Eliza Woloson. My friends, thank you so very much for coming on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you so much, Jed. It was so nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you.
Charlie says, come run with me. We'll draw and dance beneath the tree. Different steps, but side by side. Every day's a joyful ride. My friend Isabelle, she makes me smile. We laugh and play for a little while. We're not the same, and that's okay. Our friendship grows brighter every day. Cheerios for snack, a book to share, stories and giggles everywhere. Hand in hand we see it's true. The world's more fun when it's me and you. My friend Isabelle, she makes me smile. We laugh and play for a little while. We're not the same, and that's okay. Our friendship grows brighter every day. Differences can light the way, teaching love in what we say. Reading, dreaming, hearts in tune. Kindness always makes more room. My friend Isabelle, she makes me smile. We laugh and play for a little while. We're not the same, and that's okay. Our friendship grows brighter every day.
Hey, my friends, I have a super idea you are going to love. How about this weekend, turn your backyard cookout into a storybook celebration? Fire up the grill, crack open a few of your favorite picture books, and serve up Big Fork Brand's legendary bacon sausage. Made with nitrate-free bacon and premium pork, it's juicy, smoky, and unforgettable. Top it off with Big Fork's spicy Chicago fire sauce, and you've got a meal as bold as the characters in your favorite bedtime tale. Get 20% off your order using the promo code READ at bigforkbrands.com. That's bigforkbrands.com. Promo code READ to get 20% off, because nothing brings families together like great food, great books, and a whole lot of flavor. Big Fork Brands. Read, grill, repeat. Join us right now from right outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. Our guest is returning to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate her new picture book. It's called Gilbert and the Ghost. Please welcome back to the show, Heather Stigall. Heather, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Delighted to have you back on. Gilbert and the Ghost. Tell me a little bit about Gilbert.
Gilbert is a boy who believes in ghosts, and he believes especially in the one that lives in his neighborhood at 632 Savannah Street. And despite his family, he has a brother who doesn't believe in ghosts and his sister who has a logical explanation for everything, he is convinced there is a ghost there and he's going to be friends with this ghost. So he does everything he can think of to befriend the ghost because he knows a little bit about what it's like to feel invisible.
I think a lot of kids feel invisible.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. And I just had this thought. I think the kids who might feel the most invisible are the kids who always seem to be getting in trouble, but they become invisible the minute they start doing something right.
That's interesting. That's an interesting theory. Yeah. Well, the Gilbert in this series, he doesn't get in too much trouble, but he's definitely, the art shows that he how invisible he is to others, his other peers, which is a little sad, but it does have a hopeful ending. So hopefully children who feel invisible will see that his belief in ghosts and belief in friendship, which is really what the story is about, pays off in the end.
Yeah. Why do you think that most people are afraid of ghosts?
I think it might be the unknown. We think of ghosts as something that you can't see, although some people, I'm sure, who say they believe in ghosts and they can see them or they can sense them in some way. I think a lot of people have a fear of the unknown, which is kind of why, the top of the roller coaster is so scary. You get to the top and you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. So that's kind of and some people don't like roller coasters, right? So yeah, I think maybe it's the fear of the unknown, the unfamiliar.
Could be. I know that my daughter was fascinated by the idea of ghosts when she was in 3rd grade. Mm-hmm. She saw a commercial for one of those ghost hunter shows, and she wanted to watch it. And I remember we had the house was filled with guests, and I was running around and cooking and cleaning up and whatnot. And she could not get anybody to sit down and watch that with her. But she wanted to watch it, as we say here in Boston. She wanted to watch it. It was so wicked bad.
Wicked bad, right. I knew you were going to say that.
So I said, all right. And I just put away what I was doing, and we sat down. And that started a 6 or 7 year tradition of every week sitting down and watching one of the ghost hunter shows.
Wow.
And they never found any ghosts, despite what the trailers and the commercials for it leading up to it. But it was so neat because it was just, we're just coming out of the phase in her age where we're reading together every single night. Till now she's doing independent reading. We're still reading together, but this was just something else that was special between us. And it doesn't pertain to Gilbert and the Ghost, but it was a nice memory. It just popped into my mind.
It does pertain. You're talking about a memory with your child that had to do with ghosts. Of course, I understood the segue. And I was thinking also about, back to your previous question, I think a lot of people and children are afraid of the dark. And I think that's partly because it's the unknown. They can't see what's there. If they can't see it, they're not sure what's happening.
What about you, Heather? Where do you stand on the ghost issue?
I believe in the possibility of ghosts. I've never had, that I'm aware of, an experience with a ghost. I did have one time when, as a parent, I'm sure you can relate to this, when in the middle of the night, if your child comes into your room, you sense that they're there, and you wake up and they're, and it's often that they're afraid of something or they've got sick or something. And there was one night I was sleeping and I swore I heard my door open and I expected a child to be standing right at my bedside. So I opened my eyes and there was no child at my bedside. And I thought, well, what did I hear, or was that a dream? And I very carefully looked around at the door to see if someone was at the door, if a child was at the door, and the door was closed. No one was there, but I was convinced that I heard it open. So maybe that was an encounter. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. The weirdest thing, again, with my daughter, when she was 2, maybe, she never met my grandmother. My grandmother passed before she was born, but she heard about my grandmother. One of the things when we were expecting my first child, my son, we didn't know what we were going to have. And my grandmother said, what are you going to name your kid? And I said, well, if it's a boy, we're going to name it Christopher. And if it's a girl, we name her Alejandra. And my grandmother said, what? And I said, Alejandra. What? I'm just going to call her Sally. Okay, that's fine.
All right.
That's fine. So we kind of forget about that. My son is born a couple years later. My daughter's born a couple years later. We're in the room, and she has all her dolls lined up on the shelves in her room. I said, what's this doll's name? Sally. Oh. What's that doll's name? Sally. Every doll in the room was Sally.
Interesting.
My wife looks at me going, that's kind of creepy.
That's interesting. And I've heard, like I said, I only had that one incident for me, which I don't know if that was, what that was, but I have heard stories, especially with children. There's a neighbor who told me a story about the previous house they lived in. Her daughter, when they were around that age, she's like, I swear she was seeing ghosts or something that we all couldn't see, but she could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much fun. These are stories I love because I think the story about my daughter and the dolls, I mean, that's a story that lives on today. You know, we would get together with family and new friends. They're like, oh, let me tell you this story.
Yeah.
I just love that. And that's one of the reasons I launched Reading with Your Kids, because reading together turns into cooking together and throwing the ball around and watching Ghost Show together and then sharing these stories when they become adults. And it can be so much fun.
I agree.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I write picture books.
Yes. What was it? What was there one thing in particular that inspired Gilbert and the Ghost?
It was kind of two things. So I was brainstorming. I participate in Tara Lazar. If any of our listeners have heard of her, she runs a challenge in January every year called Story Storm. And the challenge is to come up with a picture book idea for every day of the month in January. And one of my ideas for the day or for the month was the title Ghostwriter. I thought a play on words would be a cute title for a picture book, but I didn't know what to do with it. I just sort of jotted it down, and that was my idea for the day. And I thought I'll revisit, if I think of something, I'll revisit that. And then in that spring, I think the more I thought about it, I was thinking, well, what could this be about? Is it a ghost that writes, or a child that writes to a ghost, or, and you'll notice the title is not Ghostwriter anymore, but initially that's what it started with. And I thought, well, why would somebody be writing, to a ghost or someone they can't see or whatever? And then I remembered one of my own childhood memories. I grew up in New Jersey, very near the beach. And my parents and my aunt and uncle and my cousins used to rent a beach house every summer, and it was the same house. We rented the same house every summer. So it wasn't our house, but it felt like our house, even because we would visit it every summer. And it had lots of nooks and crannies. And as kids, one summer we decided we were going to leave a note, because we knew people would rent after us, and we would leave a note for someone to find after we had left, and then hope they responded, so that the next summer when we came back, we would find a response. Maybe we'd get an invisible pen pal. And, of course, we went back the next year and nobody answered, but the note was gone. So we were like, well, maybe they, so it was sort of that we tried it again. So it was sort of this, writing to someone invisible and hoping for an answer. And we tried it a few times, hoping someone would answer. And I thought, well, maybe that's what the story could be about. It could be about a child who's, writing to this invisible, someone that he believes in, and maybe nobody else around him does. And then I thought more about the character and why would a child be doing this? And I thought, this is a character who needs a friend, and maybe he knows a little bit like what it's like to be invisible, like a ghost might feel. And so that's why he relates to the ghost.
Yeah. Very cool. I love that. What do you think we can do as parents or grandparents, or even just a caring aunt, uncle, or friend of the family, if we see somebody who, like Gilbert, seems to feel invisible? How do you think we can help that kid become more visible?
That's one of the takeaways I hope this book has. By the end, if a child reads it, they look at, Gilbert, and they think either, do I feel that way? Do I ever feel invisible? Or do I know somebody in my class or one of my friends or who maybe feels a little invisible? And think about the things that Gilbert does. So he does things like he makes a friendship bracelet and he leaves it on the gate of the house, and he makes a plate of cookies. So the kinds of things that you could do to make a friend. And it could be as simple as, striking up a conversation. Just saying hello on the playground is something that, that you could do. And that actually something similar to that happens in the book as well. Would be something to, start a conversation with someone. And I know my kids are older now, but in elementary school, they had a buddy bench. And I know that's pretty common in school. And my kids used to all the time, see somebody on the buddy bench, and they'd go over and, hang out with that child and see if they wanted to play. So it's another example.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Wow. What is it about writing picture books that brings so much joy to you?
Well, like you, having memories of reading to your children, I have those memories as well. But as a child, when I think back to books, when I learned to read on my own, I'm a slow reader, actually. And once I got beyond being read to, reading was a little bit of a struggle compared to my peers. And I think also because of all the required reading I had as I got older, that wasn't as much fun as something like a book about a boy who believes in ghosts. I was turned off to reading, but when I look back, I remember my fondest memories and my favorite books that I remember were almost all books that were read to me, even if it was beyond the picture book stage. So I have a lot of fond memories of the picture book stage, and I love children. I've been working, like all my jobs prior to even doing this and to being a mom of 5 have all involved children's, because I was a social worker before I had a family, and I did a lot of babysitting, and I was a teacher's assistant. So I've always been drawn to kids, and one of my favorite activities to do with them is to read them books.
Yeah.
So.
Boy, social worker, that's what I did coming out of college, and it is, I'm not going to say it's the toughest job in the world, but boy, it ranks up there.
It's challenging, yeah. And I worked with children and families, so mostly teenagers were in the jobs that I had after I got my master's. Yeah, challenging, very challenging.
Very, very. I worked with kids in the juvenile justice system. I worked in a detention center for boys, a detention center for girls, and then helping to re-socialize them back into their communities. And by far, the biggest challenge I had wasn't with the kids I was working with. It was getting the people in the community to give them another chance.
Yeah.
That was by far, to the point where I had to, I did my first magic tricks, making some incriminating, files disappear so we could get kids into school.
Okay.
It's been 40 years, so the statute of limitations is expired. So.
I understand. I know. And you'll appreciate in the social work world, it was always, of course, this was back where before everybody had computers, everything was handwritten treatment plans and everything. And if it wasn't written down, it didn't happen. So I had to make sure that everything that I wrote, that I needed documented was written down.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me is there, so you mentioned, a couple of jobs, social work and teacher's assistant, parent, and, of course, children's book author. Is there another challenge that you're hoping to accomplish in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. Getting a children's book published and all the journey to getting an agent and getting it published has been quite challenging, but very enjoyable. And it fits well with my stage of life right now. Also, when I started writing, my children were younger, but I didn't have as much time to devote to the writing part of it. Which was fine for me. It was sort of let's see if I can give this a go, and writing in the little cracks of time that I had between naps and pickup and things like that. And once they were all, I shouldn't say that because they were in school all day, but then I still was driving around, with all the activities or whatever. But now my youngest is in high school and my older ones are either in college, grad school, or working. And now I have bigger chunks of time, so it frees up more time to write. So I'm going to continue with this, and I would like to take a stab at chapter books as well, so something longer. I have written 2. One is a mess, and the other one I think is in pretty good shape. So the one that's a mess was the learning one, and maybe I'll go back and fix that. So we'll see where that takes me. And I'm also, my husband is a triathlete, and we have been fortunate enough to travel a bit with some of the races he's done. So it frees up time for me to be able to go with him to his races. So that's nice to be able to fit that in.
Awesome. Chapter books, I've learned so much doing this podcast over the last 8 years. I always assumed that chapter books, the level of reading would be higher than picture books, but I'm coming to learn that picture books are meant to be read by an adult to a kid, so you can have bigger words and more challenging vocabulary, whereas chapter books are meant for a kid to read by him or herself. And so the list of words that you can use is a lot smaller than in a picture book. Are you finding that especially challenging?
Somewhat, and the more that I learn about chapter books, the more almost confusing it is, because there's such a big range, because there's chapter books on the earlier end for the more emerging readers, and we're talking beyond the early readers where it's kind of like Hop on Pop and Cat in the Hat, right. Where they're reading a little beyond that, but before they can get to some of the longer ones. So the word count range is anything from like 2,000 words to 12,000 words. And so you can imagine, Unless you have a very prolific 6-year-old reader, they're probably reading the ones that are on the lower word count, which do have more restrictions on the vocabulary. But then if you have a child who's reading maybe the 10,000 word chapter book, you can expand your vocabulary a little bit. So that's been a challenge to try to figure out what to do. Yeah.
I bet. Well, I'm looking forward to you coming back to celebrate your first chapter book, which I'm sure will be in the near future. You were sharing with me before we hit record that you had a chance to be an exhibit at the American Library Association convention in Philadelphia this past summer. What was that like? And just what was it like, and how did it feel to be there?
It was exciting, overwhelming. It was a little. I would finish the day. I only went 2 days. It runs 4 or 5 days, and I did the Saturday and Sunday. And by the end of the day, it felt like I had walked around an amusement park all day long. So I was exhausted after seeing all of these sites. It was exciting because I got to, see and meet authors I hadn't met before. I had met, authors before, but there were, other authors I hadn't met. There were long lines of people waiting, just like at a ride in an amusement park, just, to meet an author and have them sign a book. And on my end, it was really exciting because the publisher for Gilbert and the Ghost had ARCs, which are advanced reader copies of the book, and librarians were in line waiting for me to sign a book, which was very exciting. Yeah. And I learned that a lot of librarians are looking for Halloween-ish books, something with a little spooky feel that are not too scary, because they're picture books, and so some kids are scared off by too scary books. And even though this has ghosts in the title and it has a mysterious feel to it, there's no mention of Halloween. There are no jack-o'-lanterns in the art or anything like that. So it can be used also kind of in the fall sphere, in the fall season, or for children who don't celebrate Halloween. Right. And it's a friendship story, so it can be used year round. But I found that a lot of librarians were into the spooky picture book. So that was good.
Cool. That's cool. Well, we should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Gilbert and the Ghost and find out more about you.
I have a website, and it's just myname.com. So it's Heather Pierce Stigall, and the last name is Stigall.com. And ordering links for the books are there. There's a free educator guide that my beautiful daughter, who is an educator herself, created for all of my books. So it's all, connected to Common Core and all of that. And ordering links, social media links, everything is there.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Gilbert and the Ghost. It's the new picture book from our guest, Heather Stigall. Heather, thanks so much for being back on Reading with Your Kids.
Thank you for having me again.
We are so very happy that you decided to spend part of your day with us here at Reading with Your Kids. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please pass it on. Share the link, leave a 5-star review, and hit that subscribe button so you can join us for the next episode of Reading with Your Kids. Hey, if you haven't done so already, we'd love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading with Your Kids on Instagram, and at Jedly Magic on X. We have a great YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. And of course, please check out readingwithyourkids.com. It's the hub for all things Reading with Your Kids, including learning how you can become a guest. Join our Certified Great Read program and explore amazing new books. I want to give a big thank you to the people who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Heather Stigall. Please be sure to check out Gilbert and the Ghost. Also want to give a very special shout out to Eliza and Isabel Woloson. I just fell in love with Isabel. She was wonderful, and please check out My Friend Isabelle. And if you like the song, My Friend Isabelle, that we created and played midway through this episode, drop me a line at jedly@readingwithyourkids.com, and we'll get a copy out to you for free. I want to give a big thanks to my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Elle Glassman, Dante Greco. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. You are helping to shape a kinder, smarter world every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.